that, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 2 this season, coming to you today from the Red Bull Ring. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Well, Charles, it has been forever and a day since we saw a race here at the Red Bull Ring. The Spec Racer Fords always put on a good race, and here at this rather draft-heavy track, I'm expecting some fun out of this race, and certainly some challenging sections for these drivers to have to worry about in this race coming up.
Yeah, if you were living under a rock for the last hour, you didn't see a Formula Ford race here. But no, this is a great track, and this really suits these Spec Racer cars. It's obviously long straightaways, lots of drafting opportunities, but then, you know, once you get through turn 4, you've got work to do because it becomes a bit of a challenge. Lots of medium and high-speed corners that you've got to maximize that mechanical grip. You don't really have a lot of aero that's going to help you out, so you have to be very, very aware of your tires and do a good job of keeping those in the proper operating window. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun race. I enjoy this track. and I love obviously the Spec Racer cars. It's a great combination, and it should make for an exciting race considering we've got, it looks like a 36 car grid today, so that's going to make it even more fun.
Yeah, we have got a field packed full of Spec Racer 4 drivers set to grab the green flag in probably about 10 minutes time. Still in qualifying though. Currently Felix Samoas is your provisional pole sitter. Marco Panero set to join him on the front row. Dirk Braun is your top qualifying Spec 2 racer presently, with Antonio Reese top of the Masters racers as it stands presently. But as we are rather early on in this qualifying session, let's maybe jump on board with the sponsor of today's broadcast of the Spec Racer 4 Weekend Warriors here on SMB, and your race winner last time out at Sao Paulo. Charles, I'll let you take the onboard lap with Eric Luke.
Yeah, let's get on board with Eric Luke of the Clow Valve Company sponsoring today's broadcast, and we're going to make our run down the start-finish straight, up the hill, heavy braking zone, going into turn one. Got to get your siding right. Good job, wide entry. Make sure that you kind of ride that curve, but don't jump it because that will upset your car. And we get the second long straightaway here, heading down through the motorcycle turn two on the board there, and heading down into turn three. Another uphill braking zone. Very, very difficult corner. It's just, this corner tightens up so much. It's hard to get the cars through there more than too wide, and sometimes not even that. As we make our way out, you get another nice little blast of draft down here as we're heading down the run into turn four. This is probably the most difficult corner on the track, just because it's the entry strange, the cornering strange, the exit strange. It's a downhill braking zone. You got to be careful. As you see, you're too late on the brakes, you're going to end up in the gravel trap, and you'll work your way around through four and into five, and we'll work our way around six. I think you called it Power Horse. I think that is the name of the corner. Another one of those downhill medium speed corners. You got to really depend on the tires to grip and make your way out. Wood wide exit as we work our way through 7 and 8. So we're going to get this nice little S here, a left-right combination, and we'll get another long run down here into turn 9 and 10. You're going to be wide here. 9 is also a bit tricky, and it's dangerous because you've got pit entry coming up. So that'll be something we'll watch out for to the midpoint of the race. And you get a nice exit there, nice apex, nice exit. And then through 10, really, really tight on the apex. Let the car feather out. Don't go too far. You'll end up getting a slowdown. You'll make your run back down to the start-finish line, and that will complete your lap.
And a pretty hectic lap here at the other Red Bull Ring as well. It is super tough to try and nail down. And Charles, thank you very much for talking us through this lap. It's super tough running here at the Red Bull Ring. But as much as these Spec Racer Ford cars, definitely a little bit different than the Formula Fords that we had earlier on, I feel like the keys to the race are rather about the same between the two.
Yeah, stop me if you've seen this before. The keys to the race today, the 1 and 3 are exactly the same. Watch out for the curbs. 1 and 3 on the exits there. You see those big curbs, they will unsettle the car. They'll cause you to spin. The second one is a little bit different because it's much more of a draft heavy car. These Spec Racers are, so you got to draft well, get your run down into those braking zones to make your passes. And then finally, that number 3 that always kind of creeps out, and you see it already. There's already starting to some debris starting to be pulled out onto the track. It's on the edges there. Will make that turning just a little bit more treacherous. You're going to be very careful for it. And those are the keys to today's race. And I think that's going to be hopefully in the fourth one, which is kind of the unsaid key, is you got to make it through lap 1 in order to win this race. So, you got to be very careful at the start of the race.
To finish first you have to finish, and to do well in the championship as well, you really need to finish first in the early stages of it. And speaking of the championship, beautiful transition into the championship point standings, leaving the first round of the championship at Interlagos 1 week ago. We'll start off with Spec 1, where it was Eric Luke, your reigning Spec 2 champion, breaking through in a Spec 1 debut to win that race. It was a close finish with himself and Kane Lasky. He was able to finish in P2, and so that's how it shakes out at the top 2 of Spec 1. 108 is the current point tally for Eric Luke. Kane Lasky slot in P2. Jason Green, your current provisional pole sitter, rounds out your top 3 with Felix Samoas and Sula Shutwi rounding out your top 5 in Spec 1. Here's Spec 2, where it's Kevin Adrian who won last time out, holding on to that championship points lead in Spec 2. 58 points on the board, basically nothing between himself and Andrew Love, and literally nothing between Love, Braun, and Phil Berry, all tied at 55 points. That is insanity. There's no other way to describe it. And then it was Jose Santiago rounding out your top 5 in Spec 2. Here's Masters, where it was Chef Fritzer winning last time out. Antonio Reese was able to finish P2 of those racers. Yurik Mani in 3rd, Tom Gradwell in 4th, Brad Cathcart, Adam Bradshaw round out your Masters racers as it stands presently. Not too much to look forward to in terms of the championship standings after just one round, but already starting to see some very talented racers and the usual suspects rise up to the top.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's it's this championship battle. Generally speaking, it's usually pretty close to about the midway point. Then we have a definitive leader that kind of pulls away there at the very end, and it's not always people that are winning races. Oh, as we see is that Jason Perry? It is Jason Perry in the Spider-Man liveried car coming through 6, and that was one of those things. Is one of those medium speed corners. You have to be very careful, and you've got to really manage your tires. So yeah, it's one of those that it's not always the driver that's winning everything. It's the driver who's the most consistent, and that is the name of the game here. Obviously, in our Formula Ford, we had Daniel Tufts won the championship last season. Didn't win a single race, but collected enough points during the course of the season that he was able to win the championship.
And I have a feeling that will probably be the way that this Spec Racer Ford season goes of all of the Weekend Warriors series. The SRFs are the one where you get rewarded by just being a consistent force all throughout the races throughout this season. And we have a rather diverse schedule to look forward to here for Season 3 of 2025. Looking ahead in 1 week's time, running at the Hungaroring, Lime Rock on the Classic configuration. That's always a classic race. Jerez on the Moto layout. Now, I made my opinions on the Ayrton Senna chicane at Jerez on the Moto layout quite clear. Frankly, that chicane I still stand by is a discredit to the man's name, but that'll be round number 5. Laguna Seca, that'll be fun. Sebring, that's going to be awesome. Oran Park, another moto race, and we saw that layout, which looks like the normal one if one specific section of it was ever so slightly vacuum sealed in. And then it's Magny Core, Road America, Long Beach, and Navarra on the medium layout to bring this season to a conclusion. And of course, you'll be able to catch all of the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And to bring all this action to life, we have got some absolutely fantastic partners. And here in the Spec Racer Fords, we have got Eric Luke, your reigning Spec 2 champion, and current, trying to pick him out right now, P12 qualifier. Not the best qualifying session in the world, but thankfully he is sponsoring this broadcast. So thank you, Eric, and we hope you enjoy this broadcast. Looking back on as the checkered flag is out here in qualifying, Jason Green is still your provisional pole sitter at a 146.546. Felix Moaz is right behind him, though. And these drivers, I think, have one more attempt at a qualifying lap.
Yeah, absolutely. This is open quali, which means you get quali overtime. So if you get your lap started before you get the checker flag flies, you get to finish that lap. So we'll see these guys, Jim Brewster and trying to say, Jim Brewster checked up. I think that's Andrew Love behind him. They race together all the time, and I'm sure that Andrew was not expecting Jim to just lift right there down the straightaway. But luckily, they both crossed the finish line before that happened, so good thing there. So yes, it's you get this last little bit of quality here, and then we'll be able to set the grid for the race.
Yeah, just waiting for a few more drivers to cross the line before we can bring this qualifying session to a conclusion. That was Kane Lasky crossing the line a couple of moments ago, still slotted in P10. Here we go, one more driver in qualifying, and this is Peterson Rocha in the other 349 car. You can tell my eyes are failing me at the worst possible time. And I mean, with my eyes, my feet work about as well as my eyes do in terms of working as eyes. So the 2 and the 3s tend to look a little bit similar. But here we go. Here's 2 that are looking to put in a good time. Jason Green going to get the draft assistance coming up to the line, but I think Felix had it in the earlier stage of this lap. Let's see. Is he able to jump up into the pole position at the very end? Survey says he probably got that lap time invalidated. That did not count. So Jason Green looks like he's going to be starting this race from the pole.
Yeah, normally I'd kind of say, hey, we got 12 cars within a second of the lead, but because this is so draft heavy, we've got 26 cars within 2 seconds of the pole time. So all these cars stuck together, they'll just get pulled along by the front group, and we may end up having a huge pack for most of this race.
And I expect it to be exciting, hectic, potentially traumatizing if you get involved in some incidents, but overall fantastic show here on Slow Motion Broadcasting for round number 2 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. I believe just about everybody has finished up their qualifying efforts. One more driver out there on the racetrack, I believe, is Jason Green. I don't know what sort of jumping shenanigans he will potentially be able to find. But I look forward to it at the end of every single one of these Weekend Warriors races. Prepared to laugh my ears off at seeing a Spec Racer Ford just into a wall at a steady click of 225 kilometers. It feels like they're going 15 times the speed of sound when they hit the wall. But with the qualifying session in our rearview mirror, let's look in front of us and look at the starting grid for this race. Jason Green will be your pole sitter after saying a 1 minute 46.546. Felix Samoas will join him on the front row. The Italian of Marco Panera will start this race in P3. Antonio Reese will start alongside him, grabbing the Masters pole for this race. Dirk Braun will be your top qualifying Spec 2 racer, starting this race in P5, alongside Josh Justice in 6th. Jeff Fritcher will start this race in P7 alongside Eric Luke in 8th. Flavio Andolo will start this race in 9th with Kane Lasky rounding at your top 10.
Yeah, Jason Perry is going to start in P11. Joaquin Osbeck starts in 12th. Adam Bradshaw, good morning, starts in, I'm sorry, not Adam, I will say good afternoon to him, starts in 13th. Josh Wilkie, 14th. Scott Russell, 15th. Andrew Love in 16th. Dan Wood starts in 17th. Phil Berry, that's the one I was going to say good morning to, starting in 18th. Leonard Gee starts in 19th. And Jim Brewster starts in P20.
And then looking through the rest of the drivers that we have in this starting grid, the list continues on with Paul Jackson in 21st, Tom Gradwell in 22nd, Jesus Rodriguez will start in 23rd alongside Kevin Adrian in 24th. Looking behind them, it's Matt Thompson in 25th, Kurt Nunez in 26th. Ian Gibson will start this race in P27 in the Sad Lovers and Giants car. That is a very interesting team name, alongside Daniel Salmon starting this race in 28th. Jeff Jacobson will find him starting this race in 29th, with Peterson Rocha running at your top 30.
Yeah, Brad Cathcart starts in 31st, another Aussie. Michele Vailini starting in 32nd. We'll get the name right. Mario Crimser starts in 33rd. Charlie Vaccaro starting in 34th. Good to see Charlie back. Jose Santiago starting in 35th. Adam Campbell will round out your 36-car grid. And I think, I've talked with Ian about this before, I think that is actually his band name that he just carried over to his iRacing.
I mean, you can't necessarily fight against that one bit, can you? It's a nice creative way to go about all this, and some of the drivers that you will see out here on the racetrack throughout the rest of the season will potentially be holding on to the Slow Motion Racing banner, and we'd like to congratulate the fine folks over there at SMR. Adam and the crew were able to, I believe, finish 3rd in one of the splits of the Watkins Glen 6 hour this past weekend. I say this past weekend, I think it was literally just yesterday. And I believe it was a team of Adam, Brad Cathcart, fellow Weekend Warriors driver, and Tyler Brown, who I believe is a member of Slow Motion Racing. Not sure if we've seen him in a Weekend Warriors race before, but it was P3 for them at the end of that race, running in a GT3 car. Nice to see Slow Motion Racing doing well as they hit the ground running here for 2025. But Charles, we got a hectic race in front of us. 40 minutes. Strategy is probably going to be important, but just keeping it clean and on the road is probably going to be even more vital.
Yeah, I think that's right. Is obviously we talked about it, the first lap, because these cars are so tightly packed and so close as far as speed's concerned. You got to get through this first 4 corners. Turn 1 is going to be terrible. Turn 3 probably horrendous. Turn 4 will be potentially deadly if you get it wrong. But you just, you've got to get through. You've got to keep your head. We talked with both Felix Samoas and Antonio Reese after the Formula Ford race, and they said they didn't race really till after pit stop. So that seemed like a really good strategy. Undercut may be a better option here on it for these cars because they are so good in the draft. You may be able to make up lots and lots of time by just working your way up from the back of the grid, but it was something that they'll have to play out over the next 40 minutes.
I'll put it to you this way in terms of the drama down into turn number 3. If I had $1, I would probably put it in my wallet. Turn 3, that is going to be just an absolute fever dream of a bend. I mean, doesn't matter what kind of race. You could put small little insects running around here, just having a march of ants going up through that turn, and you would have at least one collision. That you bottleneck essentially from probably 3 to 4 lanes wide into what feels like 2. You're basically going from like you're going from driving through the Grand Canyon to driving through a road in the old town here in the city of Philadelphia that's like 3 feet long and was meant to hold like a horse and carriage many moons ago. So gonna be tough through turn 3, going to be tough in this 40-minute long race that we have coming up here this evening. That pace car's done come down pit lane. Jason Green will grab the green flag's out, and the drivers are on their way. Green gets off to a flyer. He's got to jump in front of Felix Samoas for now. As much as he may lead them down to turn number 1, I have a feeling he may not lead them down into turn number 3. Josh Wilkie looking to get some moves done as well. You can see him potentially breaking his way up into the top 10 in the not too far off future. Through turn 1, it's clean. However, as they head their way on to the stretch into 3, I have a feeling this will be when the drama starts to brew. You got Samoas and Green bump drafting. Some drivers going side by side, still a little bit farther behind. Let's see who will master this corner and who will be facing the other way.
Yeah, so far so good. Looks like are we going to get the entire pack through there without even a car contact? Fantastic job, everybody involved in that. Great opening lap so far. Now we got a battle for the lead coming out of Fort.
That was such a powerful clap that I think I hurt my hands in doing that. But bravo to these racers, and bravo. Oh, no! It was in turn number 4 where it was going to happen. That's a moment for Dirk Broad. Oh, no! He gets hit. Oh, that was a 537, I believe. Just see the front clip of that race car pop off about 15 seconds after the contact was made. That's Endella running wide coming out of turn number 6. You can see that back bumper, that race car is looking rather upturned and sad. We were thinking turn 3 was going to be the drama. Turn 3 was clean, then turn 4 was when it started to break loose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talked about it at the beginning, kind of highlighted it. It's turn 4 is just a weird corner, and it's very difficult to get it right every time, especially when you've got 2 wide going through there. As we see Josh Justice going down, had some damage on the front of his car, so that might have been the where the car contact for Andelo came into play. As we are getting stretched out here at the front, 4 cars trying to break away, and looks like they're doing a good job so far. Oh, no. Oh, good way to get that one checked up. That was close there, Antonio. Almost made contact with Samoas there going down into turn 1.
I could hear the genuine panic in your voice there, Charles. I can't necessarily blame you. There's been certain points in time with close calls that these drivers have had with each other in the past where I've sounded like I was speaking in tongues. Here's some side-by-side racing with Pinero and Green. That's going to be Marco Pinero leaping in front of Jason Green. One thing that will be super vital for these racers and their opportunity to do well is not necessarily working 100% with each other, but just working with each other enough to know that game of give or take. Don't just completely attack it all the time, 100% from the drop the green all the way through to the fall of the checkered, because that's how you end your race in the wall. One driver has rejoined the race is Leonard Geese, who was involved in that drama hang through that section of the racetrack. And Charles, you brought up the point in the keys to the race, and you can see it right now as Justice runs wide himself out of turn number 4, bringing some more gravel onto the racetrack.
Yeah, we saw that when we were here. Oh, that was a good recovery. Somebody caught the back of that car. I think that was that Gulf liveried car. Somewhere further back in the back caught that slide coming through turn 4. Great job there. Pinero in the lead. And yeah, we saw it last season when we were here. And I'm pretty sure it was these cars as well. You run wide in 4, you run wide through 6, and you just drag all that gravel back out there, and that makes the car sketchy. We've had drivers say it becomes a problem as you're trying to track your way through. We're going to get this replay here. This is Leonard Geese coming down into turn 4. I believe he is the guy that's going to end up spinning. As you see a lock up there, I think that's Kurt Nunez in his car. Oh no, he is the one that drives into, and I believe that was Dirk Braun, if I have it right.
Correct, yes.
So yeah, you see that, and we got the Lego My Ego pop-up front end. that these cars like to do. Great vehicle graphics from iRacing. Oh, he just pulled back and tried to rejoin the track, and right on the outside racing line, and that was not a great move.
See, I feel bad for laughing, but at the same time, that was a rather goofy collision down into the turns. So maybe I'm just a couple of loose screws up here in ye old noggin, which is news to absolutely no, but yeah, exactly. But Marco Pinero is your race leader. Jason Green is slotted in second. Felix Moas rounds out your top three. The 3 cars breaking away from the rest of the pack. You got a 3-car pack right behind, involving the likes of Lasky, Luke, and Antonio Reese. Then right behind them is when it's absolute pandemonium. You've got a side-by-side fight now involving Kevin Adrian and Tom Gradwell off into turn number 6. Who's going to win out in this fight? Will it be Adrian on the outside, looking for back-to-back Spec 2 wins to get this season up and rolling? I think he'll be able to get that spot as they head their way into turn number 7 here in a few moments' time. But jumping back up to the front of the field, Pinero, Green, and Felix Samoas. Now, if we had to pick some of the best drivers in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors to have a battle, I think that would probably be it, as that was Petrus and Arosha with that moment down to turn number 4.
Yeah, that's just a brake lock up and just slid straight through the corner into the gravel. If you're going to pick out Spec Racer drivers that are, constantly battling for race wins, those are the first 3 names I'd kind of bring out there. Maurizio Naselli would be another one. He is not here today, so Pinero is just, sometimes he is just unmatched in this car. But Jason Green is right where he probably wants to be, is right behind Pinero, saving fuel. And my guess is Felix is probably talking to him, and that's probably doing the same thing. They're content just to ride in second and third, try and build the gap back to P4. Kane Lasky's doing his best to bring Luke and Reese up and try and join that front group. But the longer they stay together, lined up like that, the more difficult it's going to become for those cars to catch them.
Yeah, so as much as this is a very long race, it can be, I wouldn't necessarily say decided, but there can be some dominoes that fall even here in the early stages of this race. 6.5 minutes on the clock already of this 40-minute long race. Marco Pinero is still your race leader. Oh, no! Okay, they managed to get through that without absolute disaster. That was Daniel Stammen and Paul Jackson coming to blows down into turn number 4. I thought we were going to see that Mustang livery of Stammen just come barreling through into the turn, but it didn't end that way, and I think all those drivers should be counting their lucky stars the fact it didn't. Let's take a look at this replay. Who really started all of this off? Not just literally 2 drivers merging into the same part of the racetrack, and it nearly turning into a round of bowling as a result.
Yeah, a little touch on the side there, and maybe a turn, just the slightest bit of turn from the car in front. And but luckily both able to catch the car. They slid through the corner. They rejoined quite nicely, and they're continuing to race. But I'm sure they're both thinking maybe we shouldn't do that again.
Yeah, no, I think if there's anything that you want to repeat in a race like this, it's probably hitting the turn 4 apex and not having a round of bowling down into turn number 4. Now, bowling can be fun, but in a Spec Racer Ford, I don't think that will be a necessarily enjoyable experience. We've got 3 packs of drivers inside the top 10. You've got the one with the front 3, then this one. Then you can see just there in the camera shot as they head their way through turn number 3, the pandemonium that's going on essentially from Jeff Fritcher all the way back to Phil Berry. So that's a racing involving P7 all the way through to P13. I mean, we were expecting this heading into this race here, Charles. The draft game so strong here at the Red Bull Ring. As much as you've got a lot of twists and turns baked in, you've got long straightaways between them, and it's what keeps these drivers super glued together.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, it's you see the car packs up at the front, and that's from somebody making a mistake somewhere, catches a guy out and holds up a pack of cars, and they get a natural break. But once again, those are it's like you said, natural. But I think right now everybody's kind of settled in, and they're just kind of waiting. And if from what we heard from Felix Samoas after the first race, it'll all kick off after the pit stops. So we'll just kind of ride around for a while and just do our best and make as much time as we can. Then we'll come in and get our top off of fuel, and then it'll be race on from there.
Yeah, once we get that series of pit stops, this race is going to go from probably a solid 8 out of 10 in terms of hecticness to, I would say, roughly a 14 out of 10. That's got to be when pure chaos starts to break loose. These drivers going to treat us to a good show here for race number 2 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. Let's talk about this battle that we got on screen right now, though. It's Kane Lasky and Eric Luke who are battling for the win last time out, and Antonio Reese off the back of winning in those Formula Fords. Antonio didn't show up throughout a vast majority of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors season last season here, but he's back with the SRFs and is running pretty all right. Your current leader in Masters and has a quite significant cushion between himself and Jeff Fritcher. It may be them running nose to tail in terms of position, but they are not nose to tail out there on the track because it's about 2.5 seconds between them.
Yeah, there's a little gap formed between Fritcher and Reese. And yeah, last season he said that, he really focused on the Formula Ford. He wanted to get better with it. He wanted to try and compete for that class championship, and mission accomplished, was able to do that. Had a really almost, I would say, dominant performance there in the Formula Ford. And so now that he's got that done, he's just back out racing and having fun. And, obviously I think that served him well because he's still performing well in the Formula Fords, and he's still running up near the front of the field here in the Spec Racers as well.
And let's keep an eye on him all throughout the rest of this race. Although that Masters class is absolutely stacked, and here's one of the very talented racers in it. It's Kurt Nunez, currently P5 of those Masters racers out there on track, and is running right behind your P4 of the Masters drivers of Jim Brewster, series admin in the Formula V Weekend Warriors that you can catch on Saturdays here, as Daniel Wood and Jeff Jacobson have both made a somewhat early call to come down pit lane. Not as early as we saw in the Formula Fords, however, here in the Spec Racer Fords, it's still a rather early stop. Usually see these drivers wait until well later on to make that call to pit. But yet again here at the Red Bull Ring, drivers going for some off-the-wall strategies, taking that sticky ball, throwing it at the wall, and seeing if it will stick.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's an early stop, but I think Jacobson did the same thing in the Formula Ford race. I think he took that flyer and came in early. So they're going to go get theirs done, and I'm just kind of looking at their stop times: 12.8, 13.1 for Wood and Jacobson, respectively. So they're going to get the stop, and what they're going to do is they're going to just try and draft off all these cars and just maximize their speed, their pace for these next few laps until everybody comes in. And yeah, it's kind of borderline as far as how early it is, but I think they're going to be okay. Usually, once you get past that 10-minute mark, I think I would see, our admin Stevie Ray is usually the first guy that comes in and takes a stop, but he's not racing in this race, so we'll use Jacobson as that marker to say that the pit cycle is now officially open.
And, as we're seeing this race go on, I like to occasionally tune into the YouTube chat. First off, all of you tuning into this broadcast here on SMB today, welcome in. We hope you enjoy this action. I just see a message from my dad in there, $1. And I had to clang my two brain cells together for a little bit, just trying to figure out exactly what the deal was there. Then I remembered the other quote that I said right before the drop of the green, that when it comes to turn number 3, if I had $1, I would put it in my wallet. And that's the words of wisdom. Tom Gradwell's made the call to come down pit lane along with his fellow Aussie, Brad Cathcart. So the two Masters racers coming in together. Most of the Masters racers are usually the ones that are able to execute the best strategies. So, hey, let's see if that may start some more drivers around them making that call to pit, as side by side with Osbeck and Wilkie into 3.
Yeah, Gradwell and Cathcart, veterans of the series, and so I'm sure they've kind of worked through this and said, yeah, you will come in, and they're working together, obviously. So they'll come in at the same time, they'll come out at the same time, and they'll have a built-in drafting partner, and they'll be probably bump drafting their way back up and see if they can make up a few positions before the rest of the field cycles through.
So now that we've got some pit stops slowly but surely starting, it's a trickle of drivers making that call to come down pit lane. I
Yep.
think there may have been some drama out there on the track involving Jason Perry. Let's see what happened. Oh, it
Oh,
was contact with himself and Adam Bradshaw, and Phil Berry getting a piece of that action as well. 3-car stack up as they head their way out of the turn, involving 3 different classes of racers. You got Jason Perry, a Spec 1 racer, Bradshaw, a Masters driver, and Phil Berry, the Spec 2 competitor, all coming to blows out of turn number 4. You know how we said that turn 3 was going to be the point of drama? Well, I think turn 4 has actually been a surprising candidate in terms of the area where you can pick up the cheapest Spec Racer Ford bodywork pieces.
yeah, absolutely. Free souvenirs for everybody that's sitting over in that section. As their car parts lying around everywhere. Yeah, it's just turn 4 is just once again it's a bit strange, and it's a tough corner to master. And you can see that even these guys who've been doing this for quite a while still kind of struggle with some things. And so you got Barry and Bradshaw and and Jason Perry. So all 3 of those guys, at least like 2 of them are in the pit now, but I think Bradshaw stayed out. So Perry and Barry are in pitting now, and they'll get their service done, they'll get their fuel, and they'll take their fast repair and get back out on the track.
Yeah, still a lot of time left to go in this race, although we are rapidly approaching upon the halfway mark of it, about 5 minutes away from that, as we take a look at a moment involving Mario Kremser. Runs wide heading out of turn number 10, and I think he decided to call it as a result of all that. Parks next to the DRS barrier. He's going to get out of his car, take that, and then tow back to pit lane. So just saw that go on. That's unfortunate for him, as we may potentially have picked up a black flag for Josh Justice. Is this for incidents? Is this for some sort of like unserved slowdown? This is super early. You can see some damages on that race car. So it wouldn't shock me if he picked up the incident points as a result of contact being made. But yeah, Josh Justice picking up a black flag and some major damage on that car as well.
I'm kind of looking at the back, and the front obviously doesn't look good, but is he got a little extra camber in that right rear? Can't really see it from this angle. So I don't know if it's an incident limit, or, which would be strange if it was. Josh obviously is a pro Spec Racer driver in real life. So for him to get a, but maybe a meatball. So that's what we were hearing from Guido. So might be just too much damage on the car. He's going to have to bring it in and take his fast repair. Obviously, he's going to try and work those extra couple of laps that he has available in order to get closer to the midpoint of the race. But yeah, obviously the 4X, he's going to have a 4X from the first incident, as we see Charlie Baccaro there. A little bit of miscommunication with the car in front on brake points, and Charlie has to just kind of bail out of the corner, take it through the gravel, bring some more gravel onto the track, because that's what we need there in turn 4.
And I was actually looking through right now. I've got a screenshot here in the sim because last time we ran the Spec Racer Forwards here, we had a similar situation to this. Some confusion as to whether or not it was a meatball or a black flag. Got a screenshot right now. It is a black flag next to Josh Justice's name. How he picked that up, I have absolutely no clue. But it is a black flag for him, whether that's for some sort of unserved slowdown, which are easy to pick up here, or whether that be for an early incident point violation. That would be a big kick in the shins, and he will have to come in to serve that penalty. I wonder if that will be timed in with his pitch strategy potentially as well. No, it is not a meatball. It is a black flag, and Charles can attest to the fact that it is a black flag with no yellow circle in the middle. So that's unfortunate for Justice to pick up that black flag. That would be a big penalty here at the Red Bull Ring. Panero, Green, and Somoza, they don't have a black flag to their name. Instead, they've got the green flag, and they've got some very good handling race cars at the moment. They've shaken off everybody else like a bad case of the fleas. You got Eric, Luke, Lasky, and Antonio Reese running right beyond. About 5.5 seconds is the gap between the other drivers in the top 6, separating that pack. Justice has made that call to come down pit lane, probably to serve that penalty, and then come in to maybe repair that damage a little bit later on. For now, though, my attention's at these front 3 who have just been able to keep their nose to the grindstone and run away with it.
Yep, absolutely. It was he, as we see Justice coming into his box and makes a stop, gets his fast repair done, and is fueling up. So he's come in. He's at least made that stop. We'll see if the black flag clears when he comes out of the pits. If it's a meatball, it'll be clear. If it's not, it'll be a drive-through. He'll have to serve. So we're hearing it is cleared. So Josh has served, got his fast repair done. So he's got a fresh car. He can come back out and continue to race. And as I try and hold Father Guido and Ron off of each other during the course of the broadcast here, we're going to cooler heads will prevail as we're back on the front with the leaders.
And looking through the rest of the pack, we've got some insane battling going on, and some drivers who have managed to cut their way through the field like a hot knife through butter as well. Kurt Nunez up 11 spots. The same could be said about Daniel Salmon, who even with that drama down to that exact same section of the racetrack earlier on, still holding strong. They are not the true hard chargers, though. The driver making out the most amount of spots thus far is your P21 runner of Charlie Vaccaro. 13 spots gained from the drop of the green flag. So some rather good stuff from him, and also some good stuff for Jesus Rodriguez, who's up 12 spots as well. So many a racer throughout this field able to cut their way through with just absolute pure unbridled precision. Great to see that, and it has been a clean first half of this race as well, coming up to the halfway mark in now. There we go. Coming up to it in now. There we go. Perfect grammar.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so far so good. It's been a relatively clean race. Obviously, we talked about turn 4, but it's because these 3 gets out front, and Marco, to his credit, is doing his best to try and get away. But draft is not going to allow that to happen with Jason and Felix behind him. That second group that has Lasky, Reese, and Josh Wilkie, so your Masters leader and your Spec 2 leader in that group, along with Jeff Richard, and then Josh Justice is coming back down pit lane. I wonder if he's driving through this time.
And pit stall coming up here in a couple of moments' time, and black flag is now cleared for Josh Justice.
All right, so we learned that Josh Justice had a drive-through for incident points, but he came down, took his fast repair, got his fuel, and then came back down, drove through again. Obviously, that's about a 30-second penalty because you got to drive through the pit lane. Ron was right. Guido was wrong. Just have to settle it, suffer consequences, and let's move on.
Potentially, I'm not sure if iRacing has it worked out where it can show a meatball flag and a black flag at the same time. I saw the black flag, but that car was rather screwed up. The front bumper looking not very factory fresh on that number 99 car. A tough break though for Justice. He's all the way down to 31st. A big miracle would have to befall him for him to get back inside the top 20.
Yep, Jason Green setting the fastest lap of the race. Oh, what a big battle here between Josh Wilkie and Jeff Richard. Josh using the side of the car, give him a little extra room there, taking the lead, but he's got Osbeck right beside him. They're going to fight all the way down the straightaway and work their way through turn 3 here. Hopefully successfully.
Yeah, you can tell that was a close call as they headed their way down to turn number 1 based off my untimely yodeling. It's still not over yet as here comes a dive from Fritzer, close on Wilkie. Oh, it's still got to be tight on corner exit. It's going to work out well for Joaquin Mosbeck, who'll be able to blow these drivers' doors off and say, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. You drivers go battle. I'm just going to run off into the sunset. Wilkie's got a battle on his own with himself and your Masters reigning champion of Fritzer. As we take a look at a moment that happened a little bit farther in the back, the commentators jinx happening for Charlie Vaccaro. Yep. I mentioned how he was one of the hard chargers, and after that, he did lose out on a couple spots. He did hold on to it. He didn't hit the wall, but did lose out on some time.
Yeah, definitely did. You saw him caught the inside curb there at turn 1, and just basically bounced his way through turn 1 and manages to catch the car. As we get another look here. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. That is Fritzer and Wilkie getting turned. They're into 4, and I think after talking with Josh between the races, he probably went from unhappy to very, very unhappy. This is so I'm not a steward, so I'm not going to assign blame to it, but But yeah, Josh is not having a great day on the track.
I can actually do an impression of how it was in the other cockpit of Mr. Wilkie's car as he headed his way down in there. Bleep! Jeff Fritcher and Flavio Andolo have made that call to pit along with Kevin Adrian. Some more drivers trickling their way down pit lane. Paul Jackson will join them as well. So as we have gone into the second half of this race, I think that slow trickle of drivers coming down pit lane is going to switch in the not too far off future, I feel, into a full-on torrential downpour.
I think you're absolutely right. And I'm just noticing that Felix Moss has taken the lead from Pinero. So he's jumped from third to first. So obviously got a good run down those straightaways, was able to make that pass. I think he's decided we're going to turn the wick up just a little bit. Obviously, they hit both he and Green were able to do a lot of fuel saving in the first half of that race. And so I think maybe he feels like, all right, I'm in a good spot. Let me go out here and lead this thing for a bit.
Yeah, I have a feeling, like what we saw a little bit earlier on during the Formula Fords, that we're starting to see these drivers cool it off just because they know about the pit stops coming up here in the not-too-distant future, really. The only people who know the strategy calls that these drivers are going to make are the drivers themselves. So we'll just have to see who's going to come down pit lane. Here's the battle at the front, still going to flare up as nobody's made the call to pit out of those drivers. Let's see behind. They remain all out there on the track with Luke in front of Lasky in front of Reese. Joachim Osbeck, let's see if he may make that call to come down pit lane. He was the only holdout of those drivers. Wilkie, who was involved in that battle, has now made that call to pit, and I don't think it was a clean one.
I don't think it
had a
was
sideways
either.
Snap.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, he definitely did. And it's just, that's very difficult. Like I said, it's a very difficult pit entry here. Lots of things go wrong. Obviously, you carry too much speed because you're trying to keep that speed maximized, especially if you're around other traffic, because you're basically hoping that the cars go by you on the outside as you start to slow down and not basically into the back of you. So yeah, a little bit too fast. Wilkie manages to catch it, so it's going to cost him a few seconds there on his pit entry. Hopefully, he did not get a flag, and it does not appear that he did. So. A little bit of a slow stop there for Josh, but so to make matters worse, to take a good day and make it, or a bad day and make it even worse, had a little issue there with pit entry, so he's going to try and make up some of that time, hopefully on the track as he's get back out there into some traffic and maybe get a little bit of draft help.
Get a little bit of draft to okay, we're back. There we go. And whenever I see a driver blink in and out of existence, I'm like, okay, are we good? We're good. Okay, so Kane Lasky back there on the track. No harm, no foul done as a result of all that. Saw something very similar with Lasky. Saw it yesterday with the Formula Vs and saw it 1 week ago at the Spec Racer Fords at Interlagos. As here comes Marco Pinero making that call to come down pit lane, the first of the top three to pit.
Yep, obviously that kind of makes sense. He led most of the first half of all the first half of the race, and then a couple minutes beyond that. So he's obviously burnt the most fuel of the three. So that's going to leave Samoas out there in front, Green in second. And we got Antonio Reese and Osbeck are coming in as well. So they're going to take their stops. That leaves Eric Luke and Kane Lasky out by themselves.
Yeah, so we are slowly but surely seeing more drivers come down pit lane and more drivers crashing on pit entry. That's Jim Brewster, and I think he came to blows with himself and Kurt Nunez. The two master drivers may be making contact. Let's see. In this pack, Nunez slowing a little bit, coming down pit lane. The pit entry is so tough around here, and nothing that Jim could have really done. If you go around the outside there on these Spec Racer Fords, you're just going to skid off the track. So, unfortunate to have that contact. It's really just a part of the pit entry here at the Red Bull Ring.
It really is, and that was Nunez coming into pit. Brewster was not going to, I don't think, that lap. He was going to stay out. But, you got to be you got to have that in-car communicate or in-sim communication between the drivers. Let them know, hey, I'm pitting this time either by voice or by text, so that way the car behind you can expect to go around on the outside. That obviously didn't happen that time, so contact made. Fortunately, if you make contact there on pit entry, you can just come into the pits and get your fast repair and get your fuel. It's going to cost you a few seconds, but of the spin time. But otherwise, it's not a terrible. It's not a terrible thing to happen. It's not like you're coming through turn one and Bennett and then have to try and limp it around or tow it. And here's Green.
Here comes Jason Green. Jason Green making that call to come down pit lane, independent of Felix Samoas, who stays out for yet another lap. Eric Luke will come down pit lane as well. So that's going to be two more heavy hitters in this race making that call to pit. I was going to say this in reference to the pit lane and the pit entry here at the Red Bull Ring. The fact that that is grade 1 FIA certified, despite it probably being the most dangerous pit lane in modern racing, stuns me to this day. I don't know how they can get away with that year after year, and frankly, I feel like there's only going to be one day until something in real life goes down heading off through there. But hey, we're here in the sim, we're here in the Spec Racer Fords, and let's see how this all shakes out with Green now exiting out in front of Eric Luke, who's going to come out of pit lane, and right about now, there we go. Got timed that out not too terribly. Antonio Reese is going to come out behind him, but in front of Jeff Fritcher. So that's how it shakes out in terms of the Masters leaders. Scott Russell and Daniel Salmon make that call to pit along with Leonard Geese. There is Jason Green. That is the discussion that we've got going on right now, because Panero's jumped him as a result of that pit cycle. Panero is in front of Green, and they are about 25-ish seconds back of Felix Samoas. Looking at the amount of time these racers are spending down pit lane, you're looking at mid-40s to high 50s. Mid-40s to high 40s, I should say, in terms of the run down pit lane for most of these racers, and about somewhere in the low teens in terms of how long they're stopped in their pit stall. So you're probably looking at about 25-ish seconds lost as a result of a pit stop. Yeah. So let's see, as Samoas is very slow through the second to last turn, and he makes that call to come down pit lane. Here's Samoas. This is the money stop. Will he be joined down pit lane by Kane Lasky? Only time will tell. Let's take a look at this moment for Peterson Arosha, who has a lockup down to turn number 4 and goes off into the gravel, similar to a moment that we saw earlier on for Peterson. No harm, no foul done as a result of that drama. Lasky has joined Samoas down pit lane. This is a money stop, the last of the drivers towards the front of the field to make that call to pit, and our eyes now switch off to the number 16, the Italian of Marco Panero. Will he be able to exit out with the race lead? Samoas, he's on pit exit as to trundle his way to that line right there. He can now gun it as a shorter run through turn number 1, but he's going to be on some colder tires. Who will be able to exit out with this race lead? I think it's going to look good there for Felix Samoas. He'll even be able to be in front of that lap car, which will be a big benefit to Panero, who's going to get that slipstream. So as much as it may be good for Samoas for now, still not out of the woods just yet.
Not out of the woods just yet. Yeah, he's got about a less than a 1 second gap back to Panero. So Panero should be able to close that up. Green may be the loser there, but the pit stops time, 10.5 for Samoas, 12.6 for Panero, and 12.3 for Green. So Green obviously had the middle timed pit stop, but obviously came out to the worst for that. And Samoas is up there, so it's going to be difficult for Jason to get back up to that unless they come into some lap traffic or something.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really tough. A tough road ahead to try and get involved in that battle. But hey, I've seen stranger things. I'm not even talking about the show on Netflix. Let's take a look at a side-by-side fight involving Jesus Rodriguez and Joaquim Ozbek down into turn number 4. Flavio Andelo nearly trying to get involved in that battle as well. Though we're going to have the two cars of Ozbek and Andelo come to blows down into turn 4. They get through that section clean. And yet again, Charles, turn 4 being a surprisingly treacherous section of this racetrack.
Yeah, it really has been today, as Panero is starting to tighten that gap up just a little bit, so down to about 0.3. So they'll be fighting here in short order. And that's the only thing that's going to help Green get back up to the front. He's got about a 2.5 to 3 second gap back, and he's going to need these guys to start fighting through corners if he's ever going to make that time up.
And as we get to crunch time in this race, these drivers are realizing that they're under pressure and starting to set in some very good times. In the chase right now is Marco Panero, who set the fastest lap of the race last time by, so clearly the driver of the number 16 car knows that he has to turn up the wick. He has closed up that gap with himself and Felix Samoas. They're both within striking distance, but Panero goes a little bit deep down to turn number 3. Not going to help out his cause one bit. Goes the opposite side of that sausage curb with the left side tires. Not going to hurt him too badly. I don't think He even picked up a slowdown as a result of all that. But those small little mistakes that you don't really see from these racers. Pinheiro got away with one there, but I don't think he wants to have similar moments like that between now and the end.
No, I don't think he does. And I think if you jump that curb, I think that is an off track, but I think the slowdown comes a little bit further out. I think maybe if you have all four over, but he was able to jump the curb and straddle a little bit to get it back onto the track. And but yeah, not the way that you want to do that. That's too much risk for very little reward.
Yeah, those moves down into turn number 3, they're good to try and get done, but as I've talked about all throughout today here on these Weekend Warriors broadcasts on Slow Motion Broadcasting this afternoon, if you get it wrong for an attempted overtake down to turn 4, it will go disastrously. And hey, these drivers have a bit of side-to-side contact, which I'm not saying will happen. They are very experienced and very quick racers here in these Spec Racer Fords. Look at Jason Green there, a little bit farther in the back of shot. He's going to have to hope for some sort of drama to go on involving Samoas and Pinheiro. Otherwise, I don't think there's a snowball chance in hell of him being able to close up to those two. Even in terms of his last lap, not that quick in terms of reeling those racers in. Here's a swaparoo with Lasky and Reese. Reese going to back out of that and allow Kane Lasky to jump his way up into P4. Good point save for Eric Luke if he can hold on to that P4 spot. Won't be the race win like he got last week, but consistency is key in these Spec Racer Fords. Jeff Fritzscher, off the back of a win last time out, is currently P2 of those Masters competitors, P7 overall. A reminder to those who haven't tuned into these broadcasts, these drivers are scored based off their overall finishing position, not just their class position, so that'd still be a good result for him. And Phil Berry holding on to the Spec 2 lead, which is a very good result for the Aussie as well. He's been a very, very consistent force in the Weekend Warriors world. Last time out, wasn't able to grab the Spec 2 win, but looking pretty all right for him, unless any sort of drama goes on between now and the end.
Yeah, he's got a nice gap back to Kevin Adrian, about 4 seconds or so. So yeah, having a great run. Obviously, Wilkie and the incident with him and Fritzscher has dropped him down a few seconds. So he's probably still trying to get himself get his mind right after that. So yeah, great job by Barry getting the Spec 2 lead and hanging on to it with only about 4 minutes left in the race. So good chance he's going to be able to capitalize on that as we're looking back here. And now I think we're coming up. We're going to be 3 laps at the line. So it's going to be we'll probably get another lap of the side, front to back. And then we're saying 2 laps. Let's see, 36:20.
I think maybe.
I think it's going to be 3, but it's going to be close. So we'll keep an eye on that. So, but we'll kind of watch this. But yeah, it's coming up to the end here, and Marco, I'm sure, is kind of sizing up Felix, saying, "All right, how am I going to make this move, and where am I going to do it?" Obviously, we saw Felix with a great pass in the Formula Ford last race on the last lap, coming out of 3, crossed over the other driver there in order to get that win. I think that was Mikey Pollard. So we'll see how this all unfolds as we're coming down the stretch down into turn 4 for one more time.
And seeing Josh Wilkie and Leonard Geese both come down pit lane. Wilkie, he's in at the present moment. Serving a black flag right now is the 777 driver. Leonard Geese making that call as well. I think both those drivers may decide to potentially call it. No, Wilkie's actually rejoined the racetrack all the way down in 21st. Tough stuff for him at the start of this Spec Racer Ford and Formula Ford Weekend Warriors season, as a matter of fact. But getting into crunch time here. 2.5 minutes left on the clock. They're coming to 2 to go this time by, and Samoas and Pinheiro are the 2 that we're keeping our eyes on. Jason Green has slowly but surely started to reel them in, but unless there's any sort of contact and he can break through to be within 1.25 seconds of these racers, not going to have the draft assistance and really not going to be able to contend for this race win. So it's looking like the Samoas and Pinheiro show, as they're covered by about 1.5 down into turn number 9 for one of the last times in this race. 2 minutes left to go on the clock and 2 laps left to go in this race. It will be borderline yet again, 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row that we have a very close call like this in terms of whether it's the white or whether it is the 2 to go. It is 2 to go, though. The white flag is not in the air.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I think Samoa is actually backing off the pace. And I think it's because he's short fueled, and maybe this extra lap is catching him out. Because obviously, as you said, Jason Green is making up that stagger, and it's not because he's driving any faster than he was. It's they're driving slower than they were. Last lap from Samoa is a 148.7 to match what Pinheiro did. Jason Green 147.6. And so I think that this might be a 3-car race or a 2-car race. I don't know that Felix is going to be able to make it.
Yeah, I think Felix may be in some trouble here. Let's see him as they head their way down into turn number 4. You know how I mentioned that 1.25 second threshold? Jason Green is basically right there. I think he's turned up the wick a little bit on this lap, but yeah, last time by, Felix Samoa and Marco Pinheiro both solidly in the 148s, above a 148.5 last time by. And in terms of the rest of the racers in this field, you have to go well back to find Kevin Adrian to find a driver that was not even slower, actually a little bit slower than those two on the last time by. So Jason Green was able to make up about a second on that lap alone. I think Samoa's though has realized that if he's not going to be able to do it in terms of fuel, there's no point lifting off, because this has just created a big hornet's nest for all of these drivers. I think if Jason Green can get a good run through the first few turns, he may be able to break through. I don't think they're slowing up nearly as much as they were last time by, but the white flag will be in the air. One more lap of racing action left here at the Red Bull Ring. Let's keep an eye on that number 31 car of Felix Samoa's, whether or not he is out of gas. Last time by, saying a 147.768. Got some lap traffic a little bit farther up the road. That, I believe, is Leonard Geese, just off the back of serving that black flag. He will be a bit of draft assistance to Samoa's, going to help out his fuel numbers. However, Pinheiro still going to try and get that move done on him without having to worry about fuel. He's sending it down the inside. Oh, contact being made. They're going to go off the track. That's a huge moment for Marco Pinheiro. Samoa's going to go off as well. Here's Jason Green. He's involved in that battling now. Leonard Geese is still in front of these racers as they head their way down into turn number 4. Look at Jason Green in that 160 car. He may get a piece of this drama as well. I wonder how that worked out in terms of those two in reference to incident points. We saw that play a big factor in last season's race. I think all of them have gone away with it. No black flags for either of those drivers, but that was a sketchy and a hair-raising moment if ever one has been seen. I don't like that maneuver from Pinheiro. It wasn't anything dirty. It wasn't anything bad. I just think it was ill-advised at best. That's Leonard Geese going off the track. He's a couple of laps down, well farther in the back of the pack compared to these racers. But Felix Samoa is able to hold on to his race car and keep it going in a straight line. It was a little bit off track, though. Heading his way through one of the final corners of this lap, he dips a wheel off into the gravel out of turn number 7 into 8. Here comes Pinheiro. Will he be able to get this move done around the outside into 9? He's closing. He's close. He may try and go for a swaparoo. Nearly coming to blows. I think Samoa's maybe run out of fuel. He's dunking down to the inside line. Not sure what the deal was there. They had their way to the line. Samoa's, he's out of gas. Marco Pinheiro is going to win this race in a dramatic twist at the end.
Wow. That probably not even a tenth of a gallon short just starts fading at the last corner and down the front straight to take the checkered flag. And Pinheiro takes the win by 0.2 of a second. Green finishing third as we get the rest of the cars crossing the line. We got Philip Berry there getting the Spec 2 win, so congrats to Philip. Antonio Reese did finish in 6th and finished ahead of Fritcher, so that is your Masters 1-2. So we got more cars coming across. Andrew Love is going to get, he's going to get another spin as he crosses the start-finish line. And we got the rest of the cars coming. So we have Barry, Love, and Zippy Salmon gets the final podium spot for Spec 2, and Gradwell gets the final podium spot for Masters.
As we've still got some more photo finishes coming across the line at the end of this race. Spare a mention to Jason Perry and Joachim Osbeck. They're covered by 19 thousandths of a second after over 40 minutes of racing action. Incredible stuff with those racers. But Marco Pinheiro timing that to absolute perfection. I was in the process of saying it, and I will say it again. That move into turn number 3 was basically a kamikaze mission from Pinheiro. I wonder if he was just doing that to rattle the cage of Felix and knowing that he was probably going to run out of gas. That had to have been what happened from Felix Samoa, as that car was definitely sputtering coming to the end. Loses out on this race win by 0.2 of a second. It was so close to the Sunday double, but it's not going to be it for him here. As here we go. We got Jason Green there in the runoff area of turn number 1. You can see the kart track on the outside. If you look well farther down the road, you can see the old layout of the old Österreich ring here. I genuinely do not know what we're going to see here, but I know these drivers. I know it is going to be spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say this as we're getting everybody lining up here. Maybe we got a few cars out of gas. We had 34 cars start the race. We lost Mario Krimzer early. We had 2 cars finishing a lap down. That's Roca and Geese. So we had 31 cars finishing on the lead lap at the Red Bull Ring, and that's what a draft track will do for you.
I mean, the amount of times that we've seen these close calls towards the end of the race in reference, so when is it going to be the white, when's it going to be the checkered, how is this race going to end, and that can completely change it on its head. Yet again, a case happening here in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. You know, for as long as I've been doing these broadcasts, which it's over a year at this point that I've been doing them full time, you get to the point where you start running out of superlatives to use. As we take a look at this pit for Joachim Osbeck right at the very end, set himself and Jeff Jacobson potentially coming to blows as they had their way through turn number 4. It looked very similar to that usual. Actually, it was Jesus Rodriguez. My apologies, Jeff. It was Jesus Rodriguez with that moment down into turn number 4. Fortunate for those racers getting involved in that drama. Let's take a look at the results, though, and show you how close it was at the front after over 40 minutes of racing action. Your winner is Marco Pinero, your P2 finisher is Felix Samoas, and your final podium sitter is Jason Green. You can see those drivers covered by less than a second at the end of it all. 0.831 of a second was a gap at the line between Green in third and Pinero in first. Brilliant stuff between those racers. Felix just not able to get that fuel in at the end. Eric Luke, off the back of the win last time out at Interlagos, finishes this race in fourth. The sponsor of today's broadcast here with the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, Kane Lasky, will finish in P5. It's Antonio Reese winning it in the Masters class, finishing in 6th. Jeff Fritcher will finish behind in 7th. Flavio Andalo, is classed in P8. Phil Berry wins it in Spec 2, classed in 9th, with Scott Russell rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, Jason Perry finishes in 11th. Joachim Osbeck finishes in 12th. Andrew Love, second in the Masters class, finishing 13th. I'm sorry, in Spec 2, finishing 13th. Dan Wood finishes 14th. Zippy Salmon, final Spec 2 runner on the podium. 15th, Jeff Jacobson in 16th. Tom Gradwell finished in 17th in our final Masters podium. Josh Justice finishing 18th. Josh Wilkie finishing 19th. Day to forget for Josh. Kurt Nunez finishes 20th. Jim Brewster 21st. Jesus Rodriguez finishes in 22nd. Brad Cathcart finishes in 23rd. Kevin Adrian in 24th. Paul Jackson 25th. Ian Gibson 26th. Dirk Braun finishing 27th. Matt Thompson finishing 28th. Adam Bradshaw finishing in 29th. Charlie Vaccaro finishing in 30th. Michele Bailini finishing in 31st. Leonard Geese in 32nd. Peterson Roca finishing in 33rd. Mario Krimzer 34th. Jose Santiago and Aiden Campbell did not take the start, so they'll be classified 35th and 36th. I will like to note Jesus Rodriguez on my timing and scoring and finishing in 8th, but apparently had a black flag on the last lap. So 40-second penalty for him drops him down in the order, or he would have been the hard charger for today. But instead, that goes to a tie between Zippy Salmon and Jeff Jacobson, both up 12 positions.
And good racing involving all of the drivers up and down the grid. Looks like we have one driver looking to have a chat with us, and I think I will actually take it from myself here. It's Antonio Reese winning it in the Masters category at the end of the day, joining us now in the commentary booth. Antonio, welcome in and congratulations on the Masters win here at the Red Bull Ring. How about you talk us through it?
Hey, good night, guys. Yeah, it was a nice race. It was a little bit challenging. But yeah, it was. I have made a couple of mistakes, but still could keep the car on the track all the laps until the end. And then even I finish with not enough fuel, so I have to save a little bit on the last lap, but still could cross the finish line, so I'm really happy.
I will say this, Antonio, you were far from the only driver that ran into some fuel difficulties here in this race. Super tough when it comes to the strategy in these Spec Racer Fords, being able to make it to the end, knowing what level of fuel to put into the race car. I want to ask you about the challenge of nailing those pit stops here in these races.
I use SOD, which is a Spanish program that makes all that account. So I rely on that program, but sometimes he mess up. So today he mess up a little bit, but not too much.
I'll tell you what, it's a very good thing, Antonio, that you don't have me working at your fuel numbers. I've had to do that sometimes in races that I've ran myself, and I've actually ended up crashing trying to think it out because of all the smoke coming out of my ears. Just overcooking my brain trying to work out all that stuff.
I know.
But we had two races here with the track here at the Red Bull Ring, the Formula Fords earlier on, the Spec Racer Fords here, able to do well in both of them. I'm going to ask you a real tough one here.
Just starting to sound like an old hand already, dude.
Jump in for the interview.
Huh?
Sheffield.
Me? But I didn't win.
Oh,
okay,
Bill.
okay, I can go.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do
like...
that. I'll be there.
Because I probably, I don't know, on the race car I have a lot of draft benefit. So I would say both of the cars are different. Both of them are funny. I love both of them. The Formula V is the most difficult car for me because it's more traffic dealing. The cars are always so close to each other, so it's a little bit more concern for me. But yeah, other than that, is all I like them all. I just like the community to be with the guys. So whatever car comes, I go. Whatever the community stay.
And looking ahead here for next week with the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, the Hungaro Ring. That'll be a definitely a bit of a different race compared to what we usually see. What are your thoughts heading?
Yeah, he's a safety rate killer. Actually, it's very terrible for the safety. It's very easy to do off tracks, and you can get 3 or 4 incidents in one lap if you not be careful. So yeah, it's a very concerning on that point, but it's a track similar with the Red Bull, as for my understanding, is on the flow. It's very flow, high speed turns, and yeah, there is I like Hungaroring. Actually, is one of the tracks I really enjoy driving.
And looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack in 1 week's time for that race, Antonio. Whatever race that may be there, whatever kind of racing we're going to be getting at the Hungaro Ring there. But Antonio, we'll let you give any thanks or shouts out yet again before we let you go and celebrate.
Yeah, I thank you guys for having me, and yeah, the shout out is as usual. I never tired to say the same thing every time. So I always thankful for Steve Ray. The guy is the main guy, and of course he cannot do everything by himself. So all the guys that help organizing, and all the drivers, and especially for you guys on the broadcast. I think Weekend Warriors would not be. Hello, Guido, and for the viewers, for the YouTube viewers, don't forget to press the bell and follow the channel. And yeah, mostly in the sponsors, of course. I think he's Luke this week. Yeah, so yeah, thank you very much for all of that. And I hope to see you again, guys, on the next week, whatever I get a podium or not.
Well, always nice to have a chat with you, Antonio, at the end
you.
of these races. So
Same
thank you
wise.
for joining us, and well done out there.
Thank you, guys. Take care. God bless you.
And that right there was your Masters winner at the end of this race, Antonio Reese. And Charles, I want to ask who you want to have a chat with.
Well, I'm gonna leave Felix for you because I interviewed him last time. So I'm gonna bring Phil Berry in here, and we'll talk with him for a bit.
And I may have a line that I have to send off to you during this interview, so I'll drag in Phil to have a chat with you.
Sounds good. Phil, congratulations! Spec 2 class win today. Bit of a challenging race and lots of drama here and there. How did your race go today?
Well, very surprising actually to finish where I did. I got sort of caught up with JP and Adam's little turn, and then I lost the draft. So it was just okay. Well, I may as well pull in and do my pit stop now, and then see what I could do to recover.
Yeah. And obviously, it worked out. So you had the undercut working, and you were able to just kind of draft your way around, and it seems like it worked out in your favor.
Well, I think Flavio, Joachim, and Jesus had a bit of a battle going as well, which sort of let me come up to the back of them. But I think Jesus got a penalty on crossing the line, and Joachim had a spin, so I got 2 free spots there, but still had the win anyway.
There you go. And so I'm going to let you give any thanks, but I'm going to mention Ron posted a comment that I'm supposed to read that the Cookie Monster card chewed up the competition.
Okay. No, thanks to Stevie, and thanks to everyone that participates. It's a great. It's a great series, and for you guys for coming in and doing what you do. It's always great to go back after the race and watch what happened and the comments you guys come out with. So thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Congratulations, and we'll see you next week at Hungaro Ring.
Righto. Thank you, guys.
Right, take care. I'm not taking credit for that line. I had to give that to you.
I am both incredibly proud and incredibly disappointed in myself. But I've got Felix Samoa's up there in the interview waiting area. I want to drag him in for a quick little chat at the end of this. Felix, welcome in. So close to getting your job done here. Were there any sort of fuel difficulties there at the end of this race? Yes.
Yes. The car starts sputtering 500 meters from the. Yeah, it was enough. I was short on fuel. I saved so much fuel following behind that the fuel calculations got messed up, and I underfueled. Basically, I even tried to go in front to push to adjust the calculation, but it was not enough. So same story as before for the Formula 4s. You just stay cool. We all did that. Antonio was unfortunate that he missed that break point, and was enough for him to lose the draft. And then in the end, was even with that contact between me and Marco, because I tried to squeeze him to try to defend somehow to not let him have a good exit on turn 3. He obviously didn't realize I was there when he turned to the left. So we had contact, but was okay, I think. And then in the end, my fuel was not enough.
Yeah, it's unfortunate there that you did have those fuel difficulties towards the end of it. So a very good race here at the Red Bull Ring. We enjoyed the action from both the FFs and the Spec Racer Fords. It was exciting from us in the broadcast booth. How was it behind the wheel? Was it a bit tense compared to some other rounds?
No, actually, it was pretty. At least from where I stand, from my point of view, was pretty relaxed the whole race. So I just stay behind. Not that I want. I don't like to stay behind the whole race, just saving fuel. Not only because it messes the fuel calculation, as I don't think it's. I don't like when the people who is fast, they don't go. Just stay behind saving fuel. I don't like to do that, to be honest. But the thing is, Marco didn't felt like he was he wanted people to be in front of him, because at some point Jason tried to pass him and then he passed him back. It was like, okay, so he's comfortable to lead the pack, so I just let him. We just let him do it. Just had some, because the whole race was just looking at fuel consumption, how is it good. Then at some point I wanted to go ahead to do some last full throttle pushing so that the fuel calculation wouldn't be screwed up, and well, for a little almost did it. But it was not for me, it was not a stressed race at all, because it was just the three of us. No one was doing anything stupid, so it was relaxed. It was just letting the time go by for the last lap, because it's always like this in this kind of tracks.
And looking ahead to the next round of the championship at the Hungaroring, that is just it's a unique racetrack, I think would probably be the best way to describe it. There's really nothing like that. So what are your thoughts heading there?
I like Hungaroring. It's not a draft track. Yeah, you have the main straight. There's a bit of draft, and then like going up the hill. I don't know the number of the corner, like between 3 and 4, I think. Other than that, there isn't that much draft. So let's see how it goes. I think I have good pace there. So let's see. I mean, I like the track. So.
And we'll look forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack in just 1 week's time, Felix. Well, I'll let you give any thanks or shouts out before we let you go and get some practice in for that race.
As usual, to everybody involved in the race, the guys, Stevie and all the other guys who keep the leagues running, and you guys in the commentary booth.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words there, Felix. Thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth, and well done on the win earlier on in the other Formula Fords, and still well done on the P2 here in the Spec Racing Fords.
Thank you. Cheers.
And that right there was Felix Maunz, your race winner in the Formula Fords, your P2 finisher at the end of this race. I'm so used to interviewing the race winners that when we have P2 in here, I always nearly trip up and say congratulations on the win. But Charles, Hungaroring in 1 week's time. We go from one oddity of an F1 racetrack to another, but two on completely different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, really, really is. I would agree with that. It's
we're getting told. So I did notice this on the overlay during the interview with Felix Maunz, our Thompson Trophy winner at the end of this. I should have congratulated him on that.
Yeah, that's not a trophy you want to win, to be fair. But anyway, no, yeah, you're right. Hungaroring, very, very technical track. Obviously built, I think, purposely for F1. They probably run MotoGP or something there, or have in the past, but it's going to be a little bit of work for these cars. They like to slide around, and as Felix said, or either Felix or Antonio said, it's going to be lots of easy off tracks there. Obviously, you got the chicane that you have to worry about, and not a lot of room for making moves as far as drafting, but lots of braking points. And I don't know that I necessarily like the track, but hey, that's where we're racing next week, so we're going to have a good time while we're doing it.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time regardless of what kind of racing we've got going on there in 1 week's time. And to all of you tuning into this broadcast on Slow Motion Broadcasting, the action really does not stop here at SMB. We have got racing all throughout the week, and here on Super Sundays, we have got you absolutely booked. Coming up later on this evening, we'll have the action from the GT3s for XSLR running at Suzuka. Sim Racers Group has got some action on the 1st of July to kick the month off. On the 2nd of July, we have got the Sim Racers Group F3 series. Then we've got the Weekend Warriors action as usual. XSLR taking next week off. I don't believe they are taking next week off. Ron's Race Nights, we've got the action from Street Stocks at Martinsville. But that's not the only oval action we have got coming up here for you on SMB. Got some action from USRA, their first ever broadcasted race here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Going to be running some rather interesting NASCAR action down there at Daytona. And Charles, you're actually going to be on that broadcast, so you want to give the viewers a bit of a sneak preview?
Yeah, I am indeed. No, ARCA race, basically the Firecracker 400, but using the ARCA cars at Daytona. It's going to be a great race. Obviously, I think it's a little different cash prizes, cash entry, cash prizes. I'm getting my boogities lined up, getting ready for it. It's going to be a good broadcast. I'll be doing that with Adam Thompson. and we'll have some fun as usual. You know, it's the oval race. It's going to be lots of excitement. We'll have the big one at some point in time, hopefully later in the race, not earlier. And we'll have a good event.
Yeah, and really looking forward to that. Keeping our fingers crossed that we won't see any ARCA breaks during that race. I think we're just going to get some.
Oh no, those are
absolutely
guaranteed.
brilliant
No, those
racing
are
action.
guaranteed. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll keep my fingers crossed, and you'll be able to catch that action this upcoming Thursday here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Gives you a good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the racing action. But here for round number 2 of the Spec Racer Forward Weekend Warriors at the Red Bull Ring, that will do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi doing a wonderful job working on the cameras and the graphics inside of the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we'll see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.